star-studded night here in the booth is none other than D.L. Hall making an appearance here. What brings you to town, my man?
Well, you know, I just wanted to come check out the boys. It's been about 2 years since I've came back out here, so I had to come check.
You know you're always welcome up here, and great to see you. You had a great year going forward. Looking for some good things from you coming next year. And how are things going up there?
I was going great, you know. It was an awesome first year to get my feet wet. I finished the season healthy, so that was my main thing this year. I got a full season under my belt, so.
We look for good things from you. You know, every time you're on, you know, we're watching. Everybody here in Valdosta is behind you 100%, my man.
Yes, sir.
So that brings up 2nd and 10 for the Wildcat.
I lived in probably like, I mean, if I could count it on, I mean, I don't even know the exact count, but I lived in probably 15 different houses growing up, just a bunch of different houses. We moved around a lot, just depending on, you know, whether my parents were doing well at the time or not. At one point, my family of 5 lived right here in the little house. We call it the little house. It's 800 square feet, and we had 5 of us. My parents had one room, and then me, my brother, and sister had the other. I was like 8 till I was like 11. We lived out here, and it was a newer mobile home park. Back when I lived in it, that was mine right there. That was ours. That was our lot. I'm not sure if it's the same mobile home or not, but it's pretty crazy to see. We used to always play baseball in this field right here. We would come on the other side of the fence. We would find somebody's lawnmower in the neighborhood, and we would come out and just like mow a big square so that we had like fresh grass to play on. We lived in that house for like 6 months, maybe a year. When I was younger, it was like, you know, you kind of just saw it as like another adventure, you know, just like, it's like, oh, we're moving again, you know. As we got older and, you know, you start to understand things a little bit better and, you know, how life works and whatnot, then that's when it kind of, you know, gets a little tougher. You see some people that might have stability, you know, a little bit more stability that, you know, you kind of, you know, wish you know, had that, you know, that one place that, you know, was always called home. But at the same time, I always had somewhere that I always had a roof over my head and food on the table, so it was never, you know, too bad.
It's just a good community. It has that hometown feel to it. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's close. Everybody watches out for everybody. All the kids are close. They all go to school, Lowndes or Valdosta.
You don't have a bunch of shopping and stuff to go do, all these activities. So our parents, we just want them to be in the house. They get outside, go do something. Well, yeah, you wanted to go start playing before they told you to go cut the grass or something.
You had that faucet outside drinking from that water hose too.
One day you're waking up, hanging out on the weekend, going to shoot basketball, going to play football in somebody's yard, baseball on a slip and slide, whatever you can do to make fun, make time pass as a kid.
God, there's so much in here. That was from your first birthday. That was your bib. Oh, this was his first pair of blue jeans. Oh my gosh. These were Dad's, and then you wore them. I wanted to find your little cowboy boots. Oh, these were your sandals. Look how little. And that was your first Halloween costume, pumpkin. You had a pumpkin thing you wore on your head. That was one of your Mizuno jackets.
Oh yeah, holy cow.
Look how little. Oh, here's one of your football jerseys. He was always number 3. For baseball, football, he loved number 3. Basketball, that was the Boys and Girls Club. He was a good kid. He didn't give me a lot of trouble. He had the biggest imagination of any kid. Like, I even went to his doctor and was like, look, he changes outfits 5 times a day. If he was playing hunting, he had to have on camouflage. If he was playing, like, he would call it a working man with his tools and stuff, he had to have on like suspenders. And I mean, like, I spent my whole day changing his outfit. And the doctor was like, no, that's a sign of genius. Like, that's imagination. Like, let him do it. And he was very smart.
Always on the go, always wanting to do things outside. He was never a guy that wanted to do video games, and just kept us busy as parents. And it goes all the way back to elementary school. I mean, he wanted to be the best at everything he did. So he did Teninkling and as a little bitty kid, and then it moved from there to skateboarding, basketball, football at a really young age. So 3, 4 years old, he started wanting to do his sports.
I remember the first time I saw him in the gym at Valdosta High School. He came to our PE class and took 2 steps and dunked a basketball with ease, and I said, this kid's special.
You know, basketball was my first love. We used to always go to the park or go to the gym, you know, wherever we could get in, wherever we could find that was unlocked, and we could go play basketball. That was all we did. So me and my best friend, he would come pick me up in the Honda, and we'd be like 13, 14 years old, and we'd ride to the basketball court and play basketball and then drive straight back home, you know. That's what kept us out of trouble, was we were constantly just going somewhere to play basketball.
Before this baseball thing went down, DL was that man in basketball.
Yeah.
He was the shooter. He was our shooter. Well, in middle school, he played on my actual AAU travel team.
Laker Cats.
The Laker Cats. We played with the Laker Cats, and I remember him getting that big old picture of him framed.
Yeah.
He was amazing at basketball. Anything he set his mind to, he mastered it. He's just athletic all the way around.
My senior year, I would get out at like 11 o'clock. We'd go eat lunch, and then we would come back and sit here from like 1:30 till time to practice at like 3. Play games on our phones for like an hour every day. That was kind of like our ritual. After we would get done with our round of hitting, we had wheelbarrows back here, and we would come back here and sit in them for, you know, a nice little 10-15 minutes to get us a break from practice.
I knew he had a special talent at a young age. 9U, that's when we started traveling to different places. He was definitely one of the kids that had the drive and the ambition, and you could tell he was just a level ahead of some of the other kids. Oh, no way. I didn't have to push him a lot. All I had to do was supply the resources.
There were weekends Stevie would take him, and they would go right by themselves, spend the night at the not best hotels just to be able to go to travel ball or whatever. He made sure he was there.
We play him in travel ball, and I'll be up there, I'm like, oh boy, I know I'm about to get drilled. Every time I hit against somebody that got drilled, or he tried to pick me off.
All the way up really until like probably sophomore, junior year, I was just like always a hard throwing, like athletic player, but I was just like really raw.
Yeah.
And then finally started to put it together. Up until the time I was in 10th grade, I was really small.
He was always a good ball player, but as he became physically maturing in 10th grade, he was stronger, faster, got more weight, became a bigger kid, and just really dialed into what he wanted and what he was focused on, which was to, you know, get to the next level.
When I was 12 years old, I got a letter in the mail from my travel ball coach that said basically they didn't need me anymore on a 12U travel ball baseball team. And kind of from then on, my dad always told me, like, you know, leave no doubt, they'll regret it. And really since that day forward, I've kind of pushed to make everyone that ever had any doubt regret it.
Dayton Lane Hall gets a start for Team Brave.
An interesting left-hander, maybe the top prospect in all of Georgia, up to 93 at times with his fastball.
Good breaking ball. In for strike 3, and the side retired. 2 more strikeouts for DL Holly, has struck out 5.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be good as a freshman. I mean, he played varsity baseball and got a lot of relief appearances as a freshman, playing in the second round of the playoffs at Noonan. We had the bases loaded and 2 outs, and I brought him in to pitch.
And he goes full count, and we're up by 1, so I said, we're throwing curveball. So he throws a curveball in there, and the guy never, he didn't move. Game.
Baseball wasn't super big around here, and I had just kind of started getting scouted and whatnot by colleges, and my travel ball coach from Houston County, he was like, hey, why don't you come up here, you and your dad, and focus on baseball. And my junior year, once I finished, my dad was like, hey, if you want to go back, then I think we'll move back. And Valdosta had never really seen that attention from pro scouts and things like that. So I thought it would be cool to bring that back to Valdosta. Having 50 scouts at a high school baseball game is something that nobody's really seen around here. So I thought that was awesome to have that.
His senior year, when he was surrounded by scouts and general managers, we just kind of saw him mature, and he would throw his pregame bullpens, and there'd be 40 or 50 scouts, general managers around his bullpen. His practice habits were fantastic. He was a leader, obviously, with his great skills, but he's had a nice, cool calmness about him, and he handled it very well.
DL's always had a gift for the pressure. I'd ask him after the game, how did you feel when you seen 26 radar guns go up behind you? And he was like, Dad, I loved it.
We didn't know exactly where he was going to go in the draft. Florida State had already offered him a full ride, and we had signed with Florida State.
It was real when they started contacting me and saying, hey, you know, look, your son may be going in the first round of the draft. And when it got closer, they were like, no, he's going. Just don't know exactly where, but he's going. So, you know, we all got the family together and friends, and we ended up down in Florida. And
it's kind of crazy whenever you're friends with him the whole way up, and then like you're still anticipating it. You know he's going to get drafted and stuff, but like all of a sudden picks start coming in, and all of a sudden it actually happens, and you're seeing it on TV while it's in front of your face. I was like, thought I was in a dream. It was unreal.
With the 21st selection of the 2017 MLB Draft, the Baltimore Orioles select D.L. Hall.
High ceiling, left-handed high school pitcher, exceptional athlete. His arm works really, really well. Can really spin a breaking ball, very aggressive mindset.
He punched out 16 in his final high school start. This is an absolute steal for the Orioles at 21.
Being in the minor leagues is a challenge of its own. It's, you know, it's a grind. It's definitely not you know, the high lifestyle that a lot of people think it is. Battling high school guys not moving, you know, quite as fast through systems. It was a constant grind, and then getting injured, and in 2021, it made it, you know, even tougher just to think, you know, I was so close, and then kind of another setback. I never faced injury my whole life, and then the year I'm supposed to debut in the big leagues, I get hurt.
When he got injured, it was emotional for him, I'm sure, but he knew that he could pull through. He'll call me, and he told me that I'm sitting here, I look at these guys that's out here playing and working, and I said, well, hey, just keep your nose down, keep grinding, do what you're supposed to do to get healthy, and it will work out.
It was probably one of the toughest things that I've faced in my baseball career by far. Just being in Florida and kind of going through the same things every day, and a lot of people don't realize how much we're alone, you know, just in hotel rooms, and just a lot of time to kind of self-reflect, and sometimes it can, you know, it can get, you know, turn into a bad thing if you're, you know, too much in your own head.
He did what was best for him as far as getting himself back right, getting his body back right, getting his mental back right. I was just mainly focused on the mental, because I told him if his mental's not there, then nothing else is going to be there, because it all starts in the mind. The way he just pushed himself and didn't over-push himself, and I know he had his down days, and that's why, you know, he has his family and he has us as his friends, and we were just, you know, standing in his ear, you know, giving him motivation, because, you know, at the end of the day, just people sometimes just need to hear you.
I've worked at it since I was 4 years old, trying to get to, you know, that point of, you know, being able to call yourself a big leaguer. So I'm gonna keep going no matter what.
From Valdosta, Georgia, 23 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall and 205 pounds. Left-hander Dayton Lane Hall has ascended to the top of a big league mound for the first time.
He calls me up and he says, well, I need to see if you can drive to Tampa. I'm making my major league debut. So I just kind of stopped the car in the middle of the interstate. And no questions asked. I was stoked. It was just one of those moments where I was in shock and couldn't believe it, and just filled with joy, I guess, and proud of him. So
I was a nervous wreck. I literally didn't want anybody to talk to me. I didn't want to sit with anybody because I was so nervous for him.
1-2 here, and there's a strikeout. A high fastball to Christian Bethencourt, and throw that ball out of play. It is the first major league strikeout for D.L. Hall.
It was just a great experience to see him get there to the show. We had us a little DL party that day, and we were watching it all, and and pulling for him, and then he struck out the side in the second inning, and then I'm going, that's him, yeah.
It's one of those moments I'll never forget. You know, it's my son. He made it.
Right whenever it's like the Orioles are coming to Tampa, Dayton's pitching, you're like, literally, like group message, people are just texting, hey, how you getting there? How you getting there? Yeah. All of a sudden, there was probably 70 people there just from Valdosta just to watch him pitch.
It was awesome to just be able to have them to drive, 3 hours down the road and seeing all their support after the game. I still talk to people every day and they're like, yeah, we got to see you come throw in Tampa. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea that you were even there. Just a bunch of people around town, like business owners, when I go in there, they're like, yeah, we got to come down and see you pitch in Tampa. So to just hear things like that, it's unreal, to see the support I had.
He has a lot of good friends and a community that backs him 100%. And he deserves it.
You're my role model.
Yeah, I gotta get my dad.
And he supports his community. He's real affectionate with kids and wanting them to do well and helping them. He donated a lot of his time. He would just help them with pitching lessons or hitting. He was just a real passionate guy about helping out the youth.
He volunteers his time anytime he can. Signs baseballs, gives them jerseys, gloves. He'll give them a bat. He'll see a little kid at a game, give him his glove. He's the most giving person I know.
Oh my God, no.
The owner of her apartments were selling, so they had to move out. We got my mom, we were like, we're gonna go get some food. We got to the house and I pulled up and I was like, you don't have to live in a barber shop. I was like, you can live here. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, I know who owns it. And she was like, what do you mean? She started crying. I was like, I'm the owner, so you can live here.
It's been life-changing. It really has.
To give back to the community that I grew up in is something that I've always, dreamt of doing, being able to do. And now that I can, I feel like that's going to be, a huge part of something for me. And also be able to come back and just be a presence in the community and still be able to be somewhere that you love, where you have family and things like that. So for me to be able to come back home and to come out here, out to where my land is and just be a little bit more, peace and quiet, away from everybody. It's where I like to spend my time. So it's nice to be able to kind of have both, where I can go into the town and also be out here, in the peace and quiet.
D.L. Hall at 1 and 2, trying to finish off Langoliers. And he got it.
Just to see where he's come from and to where he's now, it's not going to stop here. He's just now building the name up, building his career up, and how he finished the end of this season, it just makes it beautiful to what is to come.
DL was never an if guy, it was just a win. He's always been, when I do this, when I get to the big leagues. He's going to put in the work for himself. You don't have to tell him to do it, and he's up for that challenge. And the bigger the challenge, the better he is.
He's the most disciplined child I've ever seen. I never had to push him. I never had to make him go. He always did it right by himself. He was his biggest pusher. Like, he really did. He was so disciplined.
I think now he's learning how to handle his body and to take a step back and use that as fuel for his next time that he can perform, rather than hammering so hard down on himself. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Like, you're in a position that you've dreamed about your whole life. Like, it's not going to get handed to you. You're going to have to deal with the bad days and, find that happy medium where, you realize you're playing a kid's game as a profession.
Let's do it. Every time I step out there, I pitch with a chip on my shoulder, just towards everybody that, might have ever, doubted that I could do it. So next year, I just really want to build on it and continue to get better and kind of prove another point that I can be a starter in the big leagues. I hope that everybody remembers me as a good teammate, a good clubhouse guy, a good guy to be around. I try and keep the same attitude every day, no matter what. You can usually find me smiling most of the time around the field, so I try and just keep that same energy every day. And, back home and everything, I hope that a lot of people remember me for a kid that, worked hard until he reached his goal, and show a lot of the kids around here that, you can make it out of here, and no matter where you're from or what you have going on, you can reach it if you put your mind to it.